Hello, we're back with Ken Dombrowski, executive life coach and master hypnotist. And today we want to talk about the different types of narcissists. What are some of the main ones?
Well, it all started out with just kind of the grandiose narcissist. Have you ever heard that term?
Grandiose a couple times, not in this context, but
Well, the grandiose narcissist is going to be that one that's really flashy, really showy, a lot of bravado, you're really in your face kind of person. They're going to actually seem like a super confident alpha male or alpha female. But the reality is that it's just a cover up for their narcissism, which is massive insecurity in themselves. So that's the original, so to speak, narcissistic trait. But it kind of faded out over years because being an asshole is just not being tolerated anymore. You can't go around yelling at people and bossing people around. People will just leave.
also maybe a little too obviously a narcissist.
Exactly. It's way too obvious. So we've evolved as a society, as a culture. So people had to go into other types of narcissism. Actually, one of the probably more common ones also is a victim narcissist. What do you imagine that might be like?
A narcissist that plays the victim in order to manipulate.
Perfect. Exactly right. The person who's going to play the victim. So you think, well, wait a minute. How can a victim manipulate people? Well, really easy. It's usually going to be a situation of usually a family. So, excuse me, like a parent might be a victim narcissist to their children. So, for example, let's just say maybe someone's mother is going to had a real problem with your father. He was maybe an alcoholic or he was abusive or whatever. So the mother is going to tell her children, play the victim to her children as they're growing up to feel sorry for her and then to be angry with their father. So you see, using her victimhood, she's now controlling and manipulating her children to do for her everything that she wants and feel sorry for her, and at the same time to be angry or upset with their father. So, quick question. How do you feel that might play out over the lifetime of those children?
I mean, I would think that I feel like in most cases with something like that, the kids eventually catch on and then want nothing to do with the said narcissistic parent because
Mm-hmm.
you can only do something for so long before you start to catch on in a situation like that. I think especially with victim narcissism because it's going to get old. It's going to get really, really old.
And that is largely true right there. What she just said, spot on, with one exception. If there's multiple children in a family, you run the risk of one of those children feeling so sorry for that mother and all the hardship she's been through and how she's just been so abused and beaten down that one child is going to spend their life dedicated to that mother to help her until she basically dies because she feels so sorry for her. Or usually, I say she because it's usually going to be a woman that's going to have that kind of deep empathy. So it's going to be a daughter that's going to take that role. Usually, I have seen males take that role, sons, but usually going to be a daughter. And then what happens? What do you think happens to that grown child? Now they're in their 40s or 50s, and their parent that they've been living their life for has now passed away. What do you think is going to happen to that person now?
I feel like there's two ways you can go with that is just absolute immense grief that's going to take a lot of time to process or finally a feeling of freedom, like their life is now their own.
Those are two really great possibilities. Tremendous grief because they've been living their life for that parent that's now gone. They're not lost. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself now. Or they might feel incredible freedom. Or they could go into a massive depression because they've done nothing for themselves their whole life. And now they might be 50-something years old, never got married, never had children, don't even own their own home because they lived their life for that parent. And so now they're in this incredible depression and maybe even anxiety. So you see, narcissism is this really, really awful, awful thing that it tears someone apart on this deep spiritual level. And it's so subtle, it takes 50-year lifespan is what it can take away from someone. So it really becomes just this terrible thing that's so hard to identify when you're the victim of a narcissist. So how difficult would that be if you love your mother, as an example, and she's this victim narcissist? how do you think you'd be able to identify what she's doing instead of her just needing your help genuinely? Or is she controlling and manipulating you? What would those two differences look like? Any idea on what those might look like?
I think for me it just comes back to the fact that it would start to look like a pattern. Like maybe anytime you try and address a situation where they're doing something that may not be to your standards, it turns into something you did wrong or why you should feel bad for them. So I think that's kind of what I'm thinking of, especially because I feel like the victim narcissist angle coming from a parent to a child is in a lot of TV shows. So I feel like there's a lot of examples of just like trying to flip the script constantly. Like you can't be mad at me because you're supposed to feel bad for me. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of what I think of more than anything. And you're going to notice like, oh, mom's on her trip again. Like we have to feel bad for her again
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like victim narcissism is usually used more by women than men because it's easier for women to slip into that role and they know other women are going to be empathetic. So
Mm. There you go. That's there's a thousand varieties and shades and colors of how this happens, and you can actually the conversation doesn't end. It just keeps on going. So what we're really looking for is when it comes to a variety of narcissism. I remember it was like about maybe 10 years ago. It went from just one type of narcissism, which the old style grandiose, about 10, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago maybe. Then it was broken down into four subsets. Since then, there's dozens and dozens and dozens, I don't know, maybe even 100 subsets, because narcissists are becoming super duper creative as to how they're going to go about controlling and manipulate you and staying completely within the lines of the law.
mm-hmm.
They're not breaking any laws. There's nothing wrong, illegally speaking, with convincing someone to give up your life and dedicate it to me. Give all your money to me. If you voluntarily hand it over, there's nothing you can do. You cannot go to the police and say, hey, this person stole my money. Oh, well, did they put a gun in your face? Well, no. Well, how'd they do it? Well, they asked me and I said, okay. See how silly that sounds? And that's the mindset that narcissist has gotten their victim into, to where they feel obligated to do anything and everything for that person in their life that they've everything that they can.
So almost at that point, then most narcissists nowadays would be kind of subsetting off of stealth narcissism, then, correct?
Yeah, there's stealth and covert and victim and gosh, there's so many more of them that are just hard to even remember most of the time. But they all kind of wash together. I think it's kind of a little bit of what you're saying there. Is it really is? It's just so convoluted and muddy watered. One moment they might be the grandiose narcissist, but then a couple hours later they're the victim narcissist again.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have them, they're flipping back and forth like this. So there's a lot there, a lot going on, a lot to look out for. And the sad thing is that there's so many more narcissists being created literally every day. It's a response in the subconscious mind that someone felt their environment and to an adverse environment that they needed to protect themselves by putting themselves and their health and well-being first and foremost about everything and everyone else. And now everybody and everything in my life is only to help me survive and thrive as the narcissist. So it becomes, so they're so common. You start alienating all these people, you might find yourself not having any friends anymore. So you think, well, who wants a narcissist as a friend? But, you can have a narcissist as a friend. I'm sure every one of us has narcissists as friends. But it's just you're going to be able to manage how close you are with that person. You're not going to lend them money, right? You're not going to lend them something of value. You're going to make sure that you're not doing them favor after favor after favor. And whenever you ask for a favor, the answer is no. Right. So you can be like, okay, well, I can see this is not really a healthy friendship. So, a lot to look out for. And everybody just makes their own decision based on, on each individual that they're working with.
Yeah, I don't think that topic will ever end. But like and share this video if you enjoyed it and comment any of your experiences below. Thanks for watching.